Doing a fast flyby, Bob. Going to the shop. Got myself the FMS Futura. It's an 80mm sport jet. And frankly, what does that mean, sport jet? To me, it means it's going to be a fast, maneuverable, stable, less stress on the landings because they can just land a little bit easier. It doesn't have the stall tendencies that, let's say, some of the larger, heavier, higher wing load scale or EDFs like my 90mm T45. So, I wanted a jet that I could have that confidence in, that when I'm flying it, I'm not, worried about, is it going to stall if I fly too slow? Is it going to do a, stall on landings, things like that. So in this video, I'm going to go through what I always do. I'm going to go through the unboxing, the assembly, all the things that I did in there, comments about the assembly. I'm going to maiden it, and then go through kind of a fun flight, highlight a bunch of landings, kind of narrate through those landings and such. Because I know that's an area everybody always asks. Hey, does it land well? Is it easier to land than the E-flite Viper or whatever it might be? So I'm going to go through a bunch of that, and then in the end, we'll highlight and talk about just the flight, performance. Who's this plane for? Is it for you? Maybe. Stick around. All right, let's unbox the FMS Futura 80mm. First thing we got are the wings. All clevises, real hinges, not foam hinges. The flap looks like it's a foam hinge, but the ailerons are plastic hinges that, like the sticker right here is causing it to, the squeak is gone. I might have to just put a little thin thing of some kind of glue underneath that to make sure the sticker doesn't come up and cause any issues. Right now it's flowing pretty good. Heard a lot of people say great things about this landing gear. Looking forward to that. Look like they're metal geared servos, so a little beefier. And tire is, it's kind of what sometimes you get. I could see myself maybe swapping that out for a Dubro, something or another, a little softer. Fiberglass spar, detailed manual. Elevator. It's foam hinge. Metal geared servos. Nothing fancy. Well, it's a little stiff. Loosen those up a little bit. Rudder. Same. Foam hinge. Same servo. Looks like it's a screw together configuration, no gluing required, which is always nice. Need a wider angle lens. Got the quick connects for the wings. I don't see myself taking the wings on and off anyway, but at least I don't have to run any wires. If I want to take the wings off, it looks like there's just 2 screws. We got some lights on the bottom. And let's pop the hood. See what we got in here. EC5, which you all know what I'm going to do. Got to swap it out for an XD90. Bunch of gear. Just going to see if there was a reflex in there. There is no reflex gyro that I can see in there. So I have a Reflex V3 that I'll put in there. Looks like we have reverse thrust, which look forward to trying that. You know, on these EDFs, some of them when they come in hot, it's kind of nice to have reverse. It's got one of the green boards back in there that just make sure everything's working good. But I mean, for the most part, everything seems fine. Decent straps. Construction looks good. It's not beat up. I know the power system on it is said to be excellent. Everybody, all the reviews and everybody I've talked to about this plane has said it's an outstanding performer. So looking forward to that. Bag of parts, pretty simple. Bunch of screws. They look like they're all the same length. Push rods that all look the same length also. So sure makes assembly easy. I think this is going to go pretty fast. So I'll get after that. Stick around. Okay, a couple things I need to do to the fuselage. One is I'm going to put on this afterburner kit. Why not? I'm sure the real Futura had afterburners. So putting on a kit. Thank you KM RC Model guys. Tony, appreciate it. And I'm also going to install, because this one didn't have a Reflex, I am going to put on the Reflex V3. Used it on a couple other planes, really like it. Like the idea that if I want to change the parameters, gains, I can do so with this. So I'm going to get those in. Biggest thing I got to do now, though, in order to, there's a couple things. One is I got to resolder an XD90 on that. I don't have enough room to deal with that. So I got to take this, basically I got to take the ESC out. And in order to do that, we need to take this off. All right, in order to do some of the things we need to do, we got to get inside here. So, they put these cool stickers on this plane. And the cool stickers cover up right here. That hole was covered up by a sticker, and along here and along here. Taking a X-Acto knife, sharp blade, and cutting the sticker just a little bit solves that problem. Carefully pull that off. Now we got this. So we need to take this out. If I didn't have to do all this, I think the installation would be done already. That's how simple the assembly would be done already. All right. This comes out. I think I'm gonna have to disconnect it and pull the whole thing out the top. So we're gonna go ahead and do that just so you can see what I'm dealing with here. So ESC is right there. So I'm just gonna disconnect it and note the wires. The red and the black are reversed. So it's not red to red, black to black. So it's always good to take a look at that so you can see kind of what's going on with the connections when you start taking things apart. They don't always match up from a color code perspective. All right, so we have the afterburner, and I zip tie all the wires together just so when I use reverse, that none of the wires get sucked in. And now basically it's just getting this thing pushed down where it needs to go, and getting it locked down with the screws. And that's pretty much it. Then we'll close it up and start doing the rest of the build. Install the elevator. It's a pretty simple process. Plug in the servos, make sure they lock in place, and then screw it on. slides under. And there we go. Okay. And making sure that as I push on it, everything is nice and seated. You can always tell if you're missing a wire because it'll pop out underneath or something. You know that things aren't seated properly. So, all right, we got a handful of screws. 3 here. Same thing with the rudder. Make sure you got it set up, plugged in properly, and shove all the wires in. Making sure I get those wires all the way down. And then this will just slide in place, make sure it's flush, and again, just screw it down. There's 3 screws. This is pretty easy build. The hardest part was soldering on a XD60 connector, XC90 connector. So wing assembly, like pretty simple. Put in the fiberglass wing tube and just slide those on. Goes together super fast, super simple. Something I find happens often is that, and I don't know why, drives me nuts sometimes, the control arm holes aren't big enough for the control rod. I can't get that in there. I guess I could really kind of work that in there. So instead what I do, take my little drill, make sure I have the appropriate size drill bit, and I'm just gonna work that in. Just remove just ever so slight amount. Often like to test it, but I didn't here. And now I can shove that in and it works much better. Now we can see, and these are centered, so I got to work this in. And I want to add just a little bit of reflex up on my ailerons, meaning just a hair, maybe a millimeter, maybe a little bit more of reflex up on the wingtips. All right, and I'll play with that. So now I'm going to go through, do the same routine on all of the control surfaces. So just a little tip on how I handle some of these things. So have all the control surfaces in, testing to make sure left, right, up, down, left rudder, right rudder, flaps, landing gear, everything's moving in the right direction. So that's done. Now we just need to do the control throws, double check that all the servos are basically centered or where we want them to be before Maiden, so we don't have a whole mess on our hands from a trimming perspective. The closer we can get to perfect is best. Gonna connect to the reflex that's in there. Connecting. It's now connected. Password, and the password for all of them off default is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I hit 7 accidentally. 6. Connect. Or to wiggle it around, you see that some of the parameters down here flipping around. So we're going to go switch airplanes. It says no content, and then it pops up with all of this. So I'm going to scroll through till I find Futura. Futura V3. Click on that. Futura V3, synchronize data, synchronize, success. If you're curious about the orientation of the Reflex, just hit installation information and you'll see the position. All right, we got a tangled mess in there. Couple things. One, obviously I have the Afterburner kit, but also the Reflex. Reflex adds a lot more cables, so you could clean that up if you had to, if you wanted to, and throw in just a regular Spectrum or some other kind of receiver that had stabilization. I'm flying an SMC 4400 LiPo, not the high voltage. That's where I have it positioned, and with that, my CG is right there, and I haven't budged it. It fits in there fine. It flies good. I'm pretty locked in with that CG. As far as the throws, it pretty much went to book. It was hard to get a lot of the aileron throw. I might actually tweak that a little bit, add a little bit more throw. Maybe, maybe not. Still working on it, but here's kind of how I set it up. Doing a maiden flight of the FMS Futura. Got the KM RC Model Afterburner in there. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see much of it. You can kind of see it. I don't know. The camera's probably not picking it up. But so going to get it up, get her trimmed, test what we can on our 3.5 minute timer, and then we'll bring her in and keep tuning. I have it set on with a Reflex 3 gyro set for the Futura. All right, let's go. No flap. Pull it back to a little less throttle. Wants to climb. Half throttle right now. All right, we're getting her tuned up better. No gyro. Just want to get her trimmed. She required a little bit more trim than I would have thought, but have the CG a little bit aft. Trimming out pretty good. It's flipping the flip. Got the FMS Reflex on optimized mode. Timer says 1 minute. 22.6 volts. Got some more time here. I'm gonna give a couple clicks of up. I'm gonna get up and hit some flap.
Takeoff flaps, landing flaps.
Do a stall test. Alright, let's bring her for a landing, or at least some approaches. George, I'm going to make a couple approaches. Okay. For a first flight, it was okay. Didn't get a test out as much as I would have liked. but I think it was a good test. Get her tuned up at least. And that's what I kind of was going for. Brakes work well. Right.
Gear up, flaps up.
This flight, it's just I'm doing some maneuvers. Doing big Cumin 8s, big loops, split S's, flybys. Gonna try to show a little bit. I'll cut in some video. More landings, some slower flight if I can show it. And you know, some of those types of things, and I'll just describe it as I'm flying through this. I'm flying on just a regular 4400 LiPo, not a high voltage. Gobs of power. I mean, you can go from slow to punch it and straight up, and she climbs exceptionally well. Two things everybody commented on about this plane. One is the sound, that whistle, whether full throttle or actually kind of just throttle off. Very cool sound. And the other is that afterburner kit that I put in there from KM RC Models. Everybody just thought that was the coolest thing. Like, I guess they've never seen one. I don't know. But it was an awful lot of fun to show this plane off.
Takeoff flaps.
I didn't do a ton of super slow flight. A lot of folks said that, you know, this plane will stall if you get her too slow, so I was a little leery of that. And again, I've only had just a handful of flights on it at this point. Yeah, go ahead.
Flight path 22.9 volts. Time remaining 1 minute. Landing flaps.
Doing a flyby.
Flaps up.
I do. There is something about her as far as just being very crisp or very smooth, the whole flies on rails kind of thing. But she does track exceptionally well. A real joy to fly. Bob, I'm coming in.
Gear down. Landing flaps.
Landings are pretty predictable. I mean, it's not that, oh crap, I gotta land this thing. It's full flap, gear down, take the turn, and start slowing down and just modulating that throttle. Working on getting that nose up at the end, and this is the cool part with that reverse thrust. Man, I love that. Taxiing back.
Flaps up. Braking. Motor on. Braking.
Rev her up a little bit to go around the corner once you hit the other one.
Yeah, well, with those flaps on.
Braking.
All right, let's try to get it to stall. Full up elevator, yep. Full up elevator will definitely get it to get a little wonky. Let's try to do a tight turn. Get up. Pull back all the way. It does a tight turn pretty good. I was surprised how well she handled those tight maneuvers without doing that quick stall, that accelerated stall where they just snap. She didn't do that. Okay, coming around, backing off throttle, slowing her down, a little high. Little throttle. Ah, misjudged. Dang it, I hate that.
Yeah, but it came out no problem.
Ah, dang it.
Take off flaps. Flaps up.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I misjudge things. My depth perception isn't great. My right eye doesn't work so well. So, oh well. Good news, those gears, landing gear, no issues at all. Very tough. Impressive landing gear for sure. Let's go back up and try to get a better landing. That was awful.
Landing flaps.
Full flap. Everything looked good except my lineup. Coming back half throttle, below half throttle. Making my turn. Straighten her out. Hey, if you like the content, like what I'm doing, hit that like button for me. Appreciate it. Touchdown.
Braking.
That's much better. Welcome back to the shop. So, my thoughts on this plane, flown it maybe a dozen times. So I still got some tuning and tweaking and such to work with on it. But my thoughts are, there's a lot of good characteristics from this plane. Fast enough. Is it super fast? No. I bet my 70mm Viper is probably quicker. But the sound this makes is just awesome. I just love the way it whistles, and it just has a great sound. The stability, there's just something about it. You know, the whole, locked in, rides on rails, whatever it is. There's just something really predictable about the way this thing handles. And at half throttle, little over half throttle, you can cruise for quite a while and just just do a lot of simple maneuvers at slower speeds. And it seems to it doesn't have a problem with it. I haven't got into a situation where I really tried to stall it other than those accelerated stalls. But the slow stalls I kind of stayed away from. So I don't know where that limit is. But for a 80mm sport jet that I can go for 4 minutes on a 4400, and it comes in, lands pretty predictable, as you saw. I mean, it is a pretty simple plane to fly. I don't want to say easy, but it's simple, it's predictable. As far as the negatives about it, today I can't find one other than all the wire mess that's in there, because I've got the Reflex and I've got the Afterburner and I got a bunch of stuff. So some of that's on me. I could tidy that up probably a little bit, move that around, or just go with a different receiver, with AS3X on it. Because I do like having the gyro. When I switched from no gyro to the Reflex optimized mode, it seemed to lock in or whatever. Again, it just seemed to fly better. So, who's this plane for? Look, as far as a first EDF, no, I would not do that. Second, I think so. I think you could do that. If you've got your landings down, that you can modulate power and elevator and work those systems well so you can get the predictable landings, I think this is a really great second EDF, which will take you to the next level of wherever you want to go from a performance perspective. Quality jet. I've still got a lot of learning to do as far as pushing this to see where it'll go from a slow, where is that slow speed stall? I'm going to play with it more videos to come out on this. Again, hey, if you like what I'm doing, hit that like button. If you have a question, leave a comment. Appreciate it. Have a great day.